Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and boy do we ever have something epic to take a look at today. As you can see, we have a brand new Star Ace Wonders of the Wild series model here, another Sean Cooper sculpt, and as you can also see, we've got ourselves the Woolly Mammoth, and not just a Woolly Mammoth, but we have the 2.0 version, because I actually have, in a way, reviewed this model before, but not quite this version. There was an original version, obviously it was, I guess, Woolly Mammoth Part 1, because that would have been the first version, that released, and Star Ace, quite a ways back, probably a few years ago at this point, had actually sent me the prototype for me to review, and then I sent the prototype back to them. So, unfortunately, even though the model was absolutely amazing, I did not have the pleasure of actually adding it to my collection at that point because I had to send it back to them, but it did give me the opportunity to get a look at this and show you guys up here on the channel in case you were interested in it. However, the model has been revamped a little bit and given like a new base as well as an infant here, and it is now officially out again for release, and man does this thing look awesome when it comes to what we see here on the front of the box. I am extremely excited to take a look at this absolutely exceptional looking Woolly Mammoth. Again, I was a massive fan of the first version, really happy to see this version with the baby and everything, and definitely happy to add it to my collection. As far as the packaging goes, on the front of the box you can see really nice, very high quality image of the mammoth. If we turn it around here to the side, you can now see a nice image here on the side. Again, another shot of the mammoth and its baby. And then, yeah, you're going to see pretty much the same thing over here on the other side. And then if we take a look here at the back, you can now see quite a bit of information here on this. And you can also see, again, that this is the Woolly Mammoth 2.0, and obviously this is the version that includes the baby. So let's pop this box open and check it out. First of all, here is our base, and look at how nice that looks. That looks really cool. There's a very nice earthy area here. We've also got some added vegetation. Looks like we've got some flowers and everything down there. Definitely giving us one heck of a really cool area for our mammoth and its baby to be walking through. It's also very sturdy, quite heavy. Then we've also got the baby mammoth, which, absolutely looks incredible. And man, does the paintwork on this look so nice. Like, compared to previous releases from the Wonders of the Wild series, which were always really nice when it comes to the paint apps, I feel like these have definitely been upgraded a little bit. They look really, really good. I don't know exactly where they go on the base, so we'll just put that one back there for right now. And then we've also got the adult mammoth, and just as I was mentioning about the paint apps on the baby, the paint apps on this are phenomenal. Like, wow, are these ever really good. I can say with confidence when I had reviewed the original version, the prototype version, the paint apps on the actual release are better. Like, they look quite a bit better than the paint apps did on the prototype. They really look amazing on this model. This is undoubtedly the single best mammoth that I have in my collection, and I haven't even taken a closer look at it. I could just already tell you that. But let's find the spot where these go on the base, if I can figure that out. I've just got to look for the footprints, I would imagine. There we go. I think we've now got it in the spot that it's supposed to be in. Looks good to me. Let's readjust the camera a little bit and then readjust the lighting a little bit. I don't know if that really made it better, but hopefully you can definitely see again how nice this looks, because it looks honestly incredible here in person. They really did a fantastic job on both the sculpt of these, but also the paint jobs. Like, it's really, really realistic here in hand. So, as always, let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at all of this right now. Now we will begin with the adult Woolly Mammoth, and you can see straight away now that we have this in a nicer light and a little bit of a better shot here of it, you can see how impressive the paintwork is on this. It looks as lifelike as it gets, and there is a lot of variation of color on this, which is also quite impressive. I can see all sorts of lighter and darker shades of browns on this, as well as kind of like a light tan dry brushing that's been applied to highlight all of the fur detail very nicely. So straight out of the gate, there is a ton of different color on this mammoth, making it look like probably the most lifelike version of a woolly mammoth that I've had the pleasure of seeing in person. You can also see, again, sculpt-wise, it looks really nice. We've got the trunk leading here all the way out. You can see the tip, there we go. You can see the Tip of the trunk right there looks really nice. Again, they've darkened the inside of the trunk with a dark wash, and then you can also see a lighter tone here running along the underside. The skin texture of the underside also looks really good. And then we have the fur, of course, on the top of the trunk leading back. Very fine fur as you lead back through the course of the trunk, but as you lead up into the head, you could start to see the fur become a lot more impressive. Again, a lot fluffier as you lead up, especially as you lead up there to the top of the head. We have the eyes painted out, which you can see there. Very nicely placed, very nicely painted, considering how small those are. The eyes are very impressive, and there's a nice gloss coat there, which you can kind of see shining, giving it that very realistic eye shine. Again, as I mentioned, quite a bit of variation of different browns as you move through the face, as well as the lighter dry brushing. We've got the ears sculpted out right here. I love that you can kind of see like some wavy, shaggier fur right there down on the side and like the cheek area of the mammoth. You've also got the tusks, of course, which are as impressive as it gets when it comes to a pair of tusks on a mammoth, and you can see that the actual fine detail of the tusks is also really well done. And on top of having that ivory tone, you can see that there's been a brown wash added to it so that it highlights all the cracks and crevices within the tusks, and also just kind of gives them a little bit of like a dirty look and feel, which I really like because that's a very nice element of realism, I think, that you would see on a real woolly mammoth. And you could see the same thing again for the tusk over here. They did a very good job of making sure the paintwork looks as lifelike and as realistic as it honestly could get for something like that. You can also see the mouth is open down here. We've got the tongue and everything there on the inside of the mouth. You can also see a gloss coat has been added down here to again add another level of realism, so the realism just does not cease as you move through this model. Lead up here onto the top of the head, you can see that big kind of bump on the top of the head of the mammoth. You can also see again the kind of scruffier fur that we have up here on the top of the head. As we lead back, we continue to see quite scruffy looking, quite kind of wavy fur up here in the shoulder area of the mammoth. And again, as I said, quite a bit of variation of color. You can also see the mammoth has its head turned to the right slightly, not a drastic turn, but definitely enough to be pretty obvious. As you move down, you've got a very strong looking front leg. You can honestly see the muscle definition here through the fur, which is pretty impressive, and again, very nicely sculpted by Sean Cooper as always. And again, really nice wavy fur leading off of the back of the leg here, especially in the elbow. You've got quite a bit of it. As you lead down, you can almost just see how the fur is sculpted in a way that it looks like it might be kind of like breezy, and the wind is kind of like blowing through the fur, blowing it back this way. That's just sort of the way I feel, and if that was the intention on the part of Sean Cooper, he did a very good job of portraying that in the sculpt. As you lead down into the foot, you can see the foot is also nicely sculpted. The nails are painted with a grayish tone, and they also have a little bit of a shine to them, which is nice. As you lead back up here into the stomach of the mammoth, you can see how the skin and fur and everything is all kind of bunched up here in the stomach region because both legs are so close together, kind of like pushing into the stomach of the mammoth. You can also see some very nice girth in the stomach region of the mammoth right there. You can even see almost like pinkish brown type tones, a very strange tone of color that I see showing up in certain spots, but it actually looks really, really good. That actually might be one of my favorite parts of the paint job of this mammoth. It looks really nice on the model. As you lead back up here, again, you've got all sorts of scruffier fur leading along the back. You can kind of make out the spinal column there through the fur, and then you lead back here into the rear leg. You can see a very muscular looking thigh. You've got the hip bone up there protruding a little bit. Again, really shaggy fur as you lead down, but then it starts to become quite fine the further down into the leg you get. Again, really nice foot sculpt, nicely painted nails, nicely sculpted nails as well, as you actually have kind of like cracks and crevices within the nails. And then we lead back here. You can see the tail is kind of curved into the rear of the mammoth as it's taking a step. You can see this leg is leading. This leg over here is trailing, and then as we turn over to that side, you can really see how far out that leg is trailing. It's definitely taking a pretty nice step as we move along here with the mammoth. You've got, again, that really nice foot sculpt, and as we lead back up through the leg, a really impressive amount of shaggy fur as you lead back here along the back of the thigh. You can again make out the hip bone leading back. Again, nice big belly here for our mammoth. You can see how the legs are spread further apart, so now you can kind of see the skin and fur stretching off of the stomach region rather than bunching up like we saw on the other side. But you can also see some shaggier fur down here in the lower part of the stomach. Again, finer fur as you move into the stomach region. And then as you lead over here, yet again, you can see the muscle definition, especially right there as you lead down down through the course of the front leg, which this leg is leading much further than everybody else, every other leg on the mammoth as it's taking a step. And again, really nice looking foot sculpt. And then we lead back up into the head. Again, you've got that really nicely painted eye, like very impressive. Very careful placement for that eye. The eye is super small, so it's really well done. And then the entire underside, again, sports some more really impressive sculpt and more really impressive paintwork. So definitively the best woolly mammoth I have in my collection, no doubt about that. And then we've also got our little baby, and the baby looks adorable. I also like the fact that they've made the baby a little bit lighter in coloration than the adult, just to give it a little bit of difference as far as the color goes, but still kind of following the same trend, the same theme of color that we saw on the adult. But you can see, again, the trunk is extended on the baby. You've got a really nice amount of paintwork and sculpt work for the trunk. You've got really fine fur leading along the trunk of the baby. Almost looks like the majority of it kind of looks more like skin texture with a small amount of fur starting to pick up on the trunk of the mammoth. You can also see the mouth here on the underside. Just like with the adult, you can see the eyes are, well, you could if my camera would focus on it, there you go. You can see the eyes are painted really impressively, really nicely. Perfectly placed, nice gloss coat added, and you can see the white there in the eye as well. You can also see that we've got the ear sculpted out just like we had on the adult. Similar pose for the baby, as it also has its head turned in the same position that we saw on the adult. Obviously we're missing the tusks because our baby hasn't quite grown those in yet. As you lead back, you can see both legs are kind of spread further apart, so it's obviously walking along with the mother. You can even see the muscle definition a little bit in the front leg, just like we saw on the adult. You've got nice big feet here for our baby, very nicely sculpted and painted yet again for the nails. And again, as you move through, you can see all similar variations of browns like we saw on the other one, but a bit heavier, I think, on the lighter tone of dry brushing than what we saw on the adult. But you can still see like variations of darker browns and even actually kind of like those reddish or pinkish browns that I saw on the adult. I also see on here. You can see the hip bone right here, a little bit more muscle definition, and then as you lead down, you can see the rear leg also looks nice. You can see the tail sticking out on this one rather than held into the body like we saw on the adult. And then if we turn it around, you can yet again see that adorable look to the baby here as it moves along. The eye placement, again, really nicely done. The paintwork continues to look fantastic as you move through. They've just absolutely knocked this out of the park when it comes to the paintwork. But as you lead down, you can see the legs again as they're taking a step. This leg is actually picking up off of the ground to continue to take a step. This leg is trailing, similar to what we actually saw on the mother. And then you can see again more scruffy fur here on the underside, a little bit of fur hanging off of the lower part of the stomach region. You can even see some creasing here in the fur and skin of the throat region of the mammoth. So the baby looks absolutely awesome, and it's super cool to now have a mother and a baby here to add into one diorama. And then we've got the base, and the base looks absolutely gorgeous. You can see we've got just a nice earthy area here as the mammoth is walking along. Almost gives you the feeling like it's like springtime and the flowers are just starting to kind of pop up, and we've got some vegetation and stuff like some grass kind of popping up here and there, which looks really good. And of course, it's not something that's sculpted into the model. This is vegetation that's been added later on by Star Ace, and they really did a very good job of adding it in a way that it looks extremely lifelike. I really specifically love the flowers on this. It looks really cool. But you can also see there's like some dead logs and stuff, like dead trees over here, which our mammoth is currently just kind of stepping over. And that also looks really nice, nicely painted, quite a few variations of brown included. You can see the footprint for the mammoth, and if you look at the actual earthy areas, you can see again quite a hefty amount of variation of color for those areas as well. And I love that there's just little areas here with like rocks and stones and stuff as you move through. Extremely realistic and lifelike looking base, but that's not surprising. Star Ace always delivers an amazing product when it comes to the realism of the base and the scene that they create for any model they release. So the base is gorgeous, just like everything else. And then if you look at the underside, you can see Wonders of the Wild series, Woolly Mammoth again, and you can see all the other information here as you move through, as well as again sculpted by Sean Cooper. So an amazing base to go with an amazing pair of Woolly Mammoth. As far as a size goes, and it is an impressive size for sure, we'll move the baby out of here just to get a nice length from the back leg to the trunk of the mammoth, of the adult. You're looking at about 12 inches or around 30 and a half, maybe closing in on 31 centimeters. And then for a height, now this is of course standing on the base, I would say just shy of about 8 inches or 20 centimeters, somewhere in that vicinity. For a size on the baby, actually we'll just measure it down here. For a length from that rear leg to the trunk, about 4 3/4 inches or maybe a hair over 12 centimeters. And then for a height, about 2 3/4 inches or around 7 centimeters. Now obviously the measurement between these two is going to be different because it's an adult and a baby, but they're also going to be off because I did measure the adult from the ground to the top of the mammoth on the base, whereas I measured the baby standing on the table here. So it's a little bit different as far as, like, you know, if I were to measure it from the, you know, floor up here now, you're looking at about 4 inches or 10 centimeters roughly for the baby. But as far as a length goes on the base, I'd say about right around 12 3/4 inches or around 32 and a half centimeters, I would say. But that's a pretty rough measurement because I had kind of a curve going on there to try to get that measurement. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Star Ace Woolly Mammoth, and you can see it is quite large. Definitely has a very impressive size overall, so if you are interested in grabbing yourself a large Woolly Mammoth statue that is really going to draw the attention in of anybody that walks into your home or your collection room, this is the way to go, because this is about as spectacular of a Woolly Mammoth model in every way that you're going to find anywhere. We've also got a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus stepping in here for yet another comparison. Then for even more randoms, we have the Collect Day Deluxe Dimetrodon, Safari LTD Tyrannus, and Schleich Diabloceratops standing in here to continue to show you that these mammoth models here are definitely quite large. And then for a comparison with another Woolly Mammoth model that's come out kind of recently, we have the TNG version here, which you can very clearly see is definitely a lot different in size compared to this amazing Star Ace version. And then for one final comparison, we also have the Mojo Fun version of the Woolly Mammoth, which is a recent hit from them, next to the Star Ace version, which yet again you can see the Star Ace version wins in every way when it comes to this comparison, but hopefully if you happen to have the Mojo Fun version, this will give you a good idea of the size of the Star Ace version. So this Star Ace Wonders of the Wild Woolly Mammoth scene is absolutely phenomenal. I honestly haven't seen a model like this come along in a long time that is as visually impressive and gorgeous when it comes to a Woolly Mammoth as this, because this thing is on another level, and again, far and away better than the original version, and the paint apps as well are better than what I had seen on the prototype version. So this is an improvement in every single way compared to even the older release of the Woolly Mammoth. But the sculpt of both of these, it's just so good. There's just so much going on, so much beauty in this scene, and on top of that, just so much realism. We've got basically an adult mammoth walking along with a baby following along next to it, providing just a really nice natural scene here occurring. Again, like I said, kind of looks like it's like the mammoth walking along in spring with the flowers kind of sprouting up and stuff. And on top of that, the way the fur is sculpted on these, you can just envision like the wind blowing in the fur and the fur kind of waving in the wind. It's just really cool the way that they've sculpted this out to honestly bring you into the moment and just take you to that exact scene taking place. It's just real on another level when it comes to a Woolly Mammoth. Again, I've never seen anything even close to this beautiful when it comes to a Woolly Mammoth model. On top of that, again, the paintwork of both mammoths are really well done. Like, again, better than the prototype, which really says something, because it's not very often that you'll see a model show up that even looks like the prototype from a company, but if you actually get a model like this that exceeds what you've seen on the prototype, that really says something about the quality of the work that Star Ace is putting out. And I think the paint apps on both of these mammoths is just absolutely gorgeous. There's so many variations of brown, there's so much really nice depth to the paint jobs. Again, there's just tons of color as well as really nice dry brushing techniques to bring out all of the detail in the most realistic way possible. And every area on this looks real. Like when it comes to the paint apps, you've got the nice brown wash on the tusks. You've also got the gorgeous eye paint, the nicely painted nails. There's just so much that has gone into these mammoths when it comes to both the sculpt and paint that I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you I was in pretty much a state of awe just looking at this. And you've got a really nice base. Again, the base is really beautiful, very realistic as well, and also helps to kind of create the scene that we are seeing here. You've got the nice vegetation and flowers. You also have the nice broken up tree there, the like broken up logs, and you've got the nice earthy area. And there's no laziness when it comes to this. You know, the paint apps on those as well are as high quality and as real as it gets. So overall, this is an absolute must-have. If you are a fan of woolly mammoths or prehistoric mammals or just in general prehistoric models, I could not recommend a model more than I recommend this one. You really need to get this in your hands, into your collection, and check it out for yourself. So if you are interested in this, I will include a link in the description to where you can grab this on Big Bad Toy Store. So make sure you go grab yourself this absolutely gorgeous Star Ace woolly mammoth family, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.